Good morning, everyone. Welcome to A Balanced Life with Fit Nikki. My name is Nikki, and today I'm going to guide you through a yoga for athletes class, I like to call it. It's a little bit of a flow, a lot of stretch, and we're going to focus more on the lower body, working a little bit of the upper body as well, so hips, legs, low back. Getting some movement, getting some flexibility, getting some relaxation of the muscles in there. A lot of times athletes, especially weightlifters, have a lot of tightness in the glutes and the hip flexors and the quads, the hamstrings, and low back. So trying to loosen everything up, get things moving and grooving. I have 2 blocks and a strap for class. If you don't have blocks, that's okay. You can use water bottles, you can use books or anything that is about the same height. Anything that can support you. When we use a block like under our lower back, a blanket, a pillow, or anything comfortable like that, a rolled up blanket, pillow or towel works great as well. I personally don't have a yoga strap. I thought I did, but I can't find it. So I'm going to use a band, and you can use any kind of band as well. You might want one a little bit longer than this for your class, or you can use a belt or strap or anything like that. We will get started today. So those of you who are new to yoga, I'll guide you through. Please take any modifications you need. And we have a little visitor today. So this is my cat JJ, and he may kind of pop in for class or he may not. It's hard to keep him out because he'll just cry if I keep him outside. So we'll get started today in a child's pose. So child's pose is big toes touching or almost touching, and you can have your knees in close, especially if you have lower back issues, or you can take them wide. Hips sit back towards your heels, fingers reach forward. You can let your head rest on the ground. You can bend your elbows and put one hand on top of the other, or a block under your forehead as well. So coming into that child's pose, just start to relax. Close your eyes or soften your gaze and just breathe. We're going to take about 4 more rounds of breath here. Gently relaxing and letting go. So sometimes it's very hard to clear your mind of everything because a lot of things going on, thoughts pop into your mind. You have stress, you have tension, and that's normal. But those thoughts, as they pop into your head, just wrap them up in a bubble and let them float away. Start to focus your mind on your breath and your body and let everything else kind of fall to the side. Take this little slice of time for you. On your next exhale, walk your hands over to the right side, still in that child's pose. Pressing into your left hip and really reaching with your fingers. Stretching out the side of the body. So just imagine lengthening the left side of your body, creating space along the side, through the ribs, the armpit, all the way up to the pinky. Take one more round of breath here. And on your exhale, bring yourself back to center. And then walk yourself over to the left side, pushing into your right hip, lengthening out through the right side of the body, taking a few breaths here. One more breath. Bring yourself back to center and rise up into tabletop. Wrists come under shoulders, knees under hips. Your spine is long. Press into your knuckles, the tops of your toes, and your knees. Press down into your left hand, sweep your right arm up and out, and then slide that arm underneath, coming down to your shoulder, the side of your head. Left hand can stay where it's at. It can reach forward, wrap around your back, or anything that feels good here. And just take about 3 rounds of breath. Again, letting go. So sometimes when I have thoughts that keep popping in my head, I say to myself as I'm breathing, inhale as I inhale, exhale as I exhale. And that helps my brain come back to center, back to my breath, and back to my body. So feel free to try that during class or any time during your day when you need a little break. On your next inhale, bring your left hand under your shoulder, rise up, sweep your right arm out, and come back into that tabletop. Press down into your right hand, sweep your left arm out, slide that arm underneath, and find that nice comfortable position on this side. Take a few breaths here. One more round of breath. Good. Bring your right hand under your shoulder. Press back up, sweep that left arm out, and come back into tabletop. On your next inhale, let your belly drop, head and hips rise. Exhale, press down into your mat, arch your back up to the sky. We're going to take about 4 rounds of breath here. One of my favorite stretches, one of my favorite flows to poses, cat and cow, to really loosen up my back and my lower back. And feel free to take any extra moves if you want to sink your hips back, if you want to sway them side to side, or anything that feels good here. Let's take one more big exhale. And then come back into that tabletop. Good. Reach your right arm and your left leg out. So shift your weight into that left hand and that right leg. Left leg can be down or it can be lifted. And as you exhale, come back in the tabletop. Shift your weight into right hand, left leg. Left arm, right leg, come out. Continue here with your breath. You can keep that leg on the floor for a little support or lift it up. Exhale back into tabletop. One more time. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to tabletop. Good. Inhale, take that left leg back behind you, toe down or up. Sweep it over to the right side. So you can plant the ball of your foot here. Push into your heel and push yourself a little bit away from your mat. So trying to lengthen out the back of the leg, maybe feel it in your calf and in your outer hip a bit. Take one more round of breath. Good. Come back up to a neutral position. And then you're going to sweep that leg behind you and then all the way around, bringing your knee to your elbow. Sweep it back around and knee to elbow. And again, you can lift that leg up a bit. Let's do 2 more here. Just getting some movement into your hip. And one more time, sweep it all the way back and bring that knee to your elbow. And then set your left foot outside of your left hand, tuck your right toe and scoot your knee back. So this is a great place to be right here. Runner's lunge. You can take blocks under your hands. You can come down to your elbows. You can tuck your back toe and lift that knee. You want to keep your knee, your left knee in line with your toes. If you want to heel toe a little wider, feel free to. Keep your spine nice and long. And find a comfortable position. So you want to have where it's right at that edge where it's almost too much of a stretch. You're just really starting to feel it, but it's not sharp or painful. I call that the sweet spot. So find your sweet spot here and take one more breath. Then come on up to your hands. And you're going to heel toe that left foot out a little bit. Toes come out at an angle, flex your foot. Open your knee and hip so you come to the outer edge of your foot, keeping it flexed. Stay here, or you can come down to your elbows, or you can even take your hand light to your thigh and maybe lift that back knee as well. Take a couple breaths here. You've got one more round of breath. If your knee is lifted, go ahead and lower it. Bring your hands under your shoulders, bring your foot down, heel toe it back, and then step back into your tabletop. Find that tabletop position. Right leg comes back behind you. Sweep it over to the left side. And I want to make sure I didn't have my water back there so I didn't spill it. Plant the ball of your foot, push into your heel and push yourself away from the mat. Take a couple breaths here, lengthening through the back of the leg, and you might even feel it in your outer hip or someplace else in your leg. And then gently release the pressure. Bring that leg through center and then knee to elbow. Sweep that leg back behind you all the way over to the left side. And then knee to elbow. We're going to do two more like that. Bringing a little movement into the hip. Getting everything going. And we've got one more. Good. Sweep that leg around. And then this time, bring your foot outside of your hand. And again, grab your blocks if you'd like. And find that runner's lunge, scooting back the left knee a bit. So right knee and toe are in line with each other. You can be on your hands, you can come to your elbows, you can lift that back leg, whatever feels good here. Find that sweet spot on this side, and it may look and feel different than the other side. So sometimes we have one side of our body that's a little more flexible than the other, or maybe you've had an injury or something like that. So your sides might be a little uneven, and that's okay. Maybe you've worked one side harder than the other. Let's hope not too much. And we're going to take one more breath here. Bring your hands under your shoulders. And then you're going to heel toe that right foot out. Bring it to an angle, flex your foot, come to the outer edge of your foot. And again, you take a hand light to your thigh. You can be on your hands. You can come down to your elbow. You can float that back knee. See what feels good on this side. You're just going to take a couple breaths. One more big breath here. Bring your hands back under your shoulders. Bring your foot down. Heel toe it in, and then find your way back into tabletop. Good. Tuck your toes, or bring your toes in close. Knees can come in close or wide. Take it back to that child's pose again. And if you have your blocks, you can use those. Slide it forward. Hands to your blocks and your chest and your forehead are going to come down towards the ground. One more breath here. And rise back up into tabletop position. Good. Find that nice long spine. Right leg reaches back behind you. Then take that foot inside of your hand. Tuck your left toe, scoot your knee back. Rise up into a low lunge. So if this is uncomfortable on your back knee, feel free to roll up your mat or put a cushion or blanket under it as well. Knee is in line with toe. Fingers are energized, but your shoulders and your jaw are nice and relaxed. Pull back on the right hip, press forward into that left hip flexor. Really push into it here. And you're going to take one more round of breath. Nice inhale to lengthen through the spine. Nice exhale to sink maybe a tiny bit more forward. Good, and then you're going to bring your hands down and they can come to your blocks, right under your shoulders. And then lengthen your right leg and flex your foot, coming into your half splits. So just take a couple breaths here. Flex your foot, but feel free to soften your knee for less intensity. And you might be here, hips stay lifted. You might be right here, pulling back on that right hip. Or if you'd like a deeper stretch, walk the blocks forward a little bit. And if you want an even deeper stretch, take that right arm, reach it over the left. So keeping your spine long, pulling back on that right hip. One more round of breath. And we're just going to flow through those poses. So inhale, bring it forward into your lunge. Really press into the left hip flexor. Exhale, lengthen that right leg and flex your foot. We're going to go 2 more times here. Bringing it forward and then taking it back. And one more time, bringing it forward and taking it back. From here, you're going to take your block or your left hand under your shoulder. Right hand comes to the hip or the sky. If you'd like a little more stretch in your outer leg, let your the outer edge of your right foot come down towards the ground. And maybe take your block or your right hand closer to your leg or to the right of your leg. One more breath. Good. Find your way back to that half split, toes towards the sky. Hands come inside. And we're going to take this right leg and you're going to kind of heel toe it out to the side. However you need to get there. Sometimes yoga is not graceful, guys. Sometimes there's some awkwardness in it. So just embrace that. So you're going to have your toes can be facing forward or to the side, whatever feels good. And you're going to come on up into a kneeling position. Arms come out into a T. If you'd like, you can put a block to the outside of your left leg. Let your left hand come down to your block or the ground. Right fingers reach up to the sky, or maybe even take your bicep to your ear for a longer side stretch. Take a big breath here. Rise back up into your T shape. Good. You might even take a block to the inside of your right foot. Take your right hand down inside of your leg to the block of the ground. Left hand reaches up, or bicep to ear for a deeper side stretch. One more inhale. Rise back up into that T shape. Good. Take your toes to face the right. Plant your foot. Lean into the right side so you have a little angle on your left knee. Kneeling warrior 2. So you're going to take your left hand to your thigh or to that block. Push into your hip. Dancing kneeling warrior 2. Long name. Maybe I named it myself, maybe I didn't, I don't know. Come on up to your warrior 2. Take your right hand to that block of the ground inside of your right foot. Fingers to the sky or bicep to ear again. Rise back up into warrior 2. Lengthen that leg out. Turn your toes to face forward, and you can grab your blocks. And you're going to heel toe that foot a little wider. Sit your hips back towards your left heel. Walk your hands forward. You can have your hands on your block or to the ground. And you can stay right here if you'd like a little deeper stretch. Start to walk your hands and maybe bring your block over to the right side. Again, finding that sweet spot that's a really nice stretch, but it's not sharp or painful. Take about 2 breaths here. One more breath. Walk yourself back to center. Grab your blocks if you'd like. Blocks are really great too. If you don't have carpet, if you have a smooth floor, you can kind of slide them to help you. Lift your hips back up. Bring that right knee in. Bring your toes together, knees together or wide. Sit back into child's pose for 2 breaths. One more breath here. Good. Rise back up into your tabletop. If you have your blocks, you can set them to the side. Take that left foot back behind you, and then bring your foot inside of your hand. Tuck your back toe. Bring your knee back. Find that low lunge over here. We're just going to take a couple breaths. Relax the shoulders, relax the jaw. Pull back on the left hip, press forward into that right hip flexor. Knee and toe in line with each other. Guys, I'm a huge alignment and anatomy nerd. Very important to me. I think it's very important in your body for it to be properly aligned so you don't hurt yourself. You can stretch yourself properly. So I do, for those new to me, I do give a lot of alignment cues. Let's take another inhale. Nice big exhale. And then you're going to grab those blocks. Bring them under your shoulders. Press forward a little bit more, relaxing the shoulders, relax your jaw, relax your tongue. And then lengthen the left leg, finding half splits on the side. Flexing your foot, pull back on the left hip, press forward on the right. And again, you can soften that knee for less intensity today. If you'd like a deeper stretch, keep your spine long. Try not to let your lower back round. As you gently walk yourself forward, maybe take that arm forward for a deeper stretch and take a couple breaths here. And look at that, you didn't think you could do the splits, but you're in half splits already. Woo woo, a few more classes with me and you'll be doing the splits like crazy. Just kidding. But if the splits are a goal of yours, let me know, drop me a message, and I can give you some exercises to do each day to bring you a little closer to that goal. It will take a while, but you can get there if that's your goal. On your inhale, come forward into that lunge. Really press into the right hip flexor. Exhale, lengthen out that left leg and flex your foot. So it's always nice to have goals. Come back forward into lunge. And they can be little goals, they can be big goals. Lengthen that leg out one more time. And let's go back into that lunge. You can have a lot of little goals and a big goal. Whatever works for you. Lengthen that leg out. And you're going to take either your block, your hand to your block, or the ground. Under your shoulder, left hand comes to your hip or to the sky. And again, if you'd like a deeper stretch on the outer edge of your foot, let your left foot fall open, bringing the outer edge of your foot down maybe. Maybe taking that twist, or maybe bringing your block in your hands to the left side of your left leg. I like to have little goals, some that don't take very long to get to, and then some more long-term goals. I always like to have something to work for. And let's come on back to that neutral half split, toes up. And then you're going to take that leg out to the side. Ooh, so toes can face forward, or they can face out to the side, whatever feels good for you here. And if you want a block on the outside of your right leg and the front of your left, arms come into a T shape. Let your right hand come under your shoulder to the block of the ground, left fingers up or bicep to ear, and take a couple breaths. Lengthening out the side body and the outer edge of that leg and hip. Rise back up into your T shape. Good. Bring the left hand to the ground or the block in front of your leg. Right hand reaches up or bicep to ear. Take one more breath. And rise back up. Good. Now this is where you're going to bend the left knee. Lean into that leg, making an angle with the right leg. Kneeling warrior two. Take that right hand to your thigh or your block or the ground. Left fingers up or bicep to ear. Dancing your kneeling warrior. Rise back up, warrior two. Left hand comes block or the ground inside of your leg. Right fingers reach high or bicep to ear. Maybe really feeling that. I feel that on my inner hip and my groin a bit. Rise back up, warrior two. Lengthen out the left leg. And here's where you're going to take those locks forward. Maybe heel toe your leg out a little bit more. Hips sit back. Arms reach forward. Similar to a child's pose. And toes face forward. So stay here or walk yourself towards your left leg, maybe bringing your blocks, maybe not. Find that sweet spot here, knowing it may look and feel completely different than the other side. Take a couple breaths. Breathe into it. Then walk yourself back to center. And if you have those blocks, if you have a smooth surface, you can slide them up or walk your hands up. Lift your hips. Come back into tabletop and find your child's pose here. And maybe at this point, maybe it was uncomfortable in the beginning to have your knees wide. Maybe it feels a little more comfortable now. Maybe it doesn't. Just see what feels good for you here. On your next inhale, rise up into tabletop. You're going to find down dog. So some people walk their hands forward a little bit. Some keep them where they're at. It depends on your body. Tuck your toes, root down into your knuckles, and press your hips up and then back. Take a few breaths here, pedal it out, or move your hips side to side, whatever feels nice here. So imagine your shoulder blades sliding up your back. Feel free to keep your knees a little bent. And I like to imagine my tailbone is reaching for that corner between the wall and the ceiling. That little place that they meet. Relax your neck and your jaw. You're going to stretch the feet and the toes a little bit. As you inhale, come up to the balls of your feet. Bend your knees, bring them close to the ground. Lengthen your legs back out. And let your heels come towards the ground. And they may not touch, and that's okay. Let's do that a couple more times. Up to the balls of your feet. Let your knees float down. Lengthen everything out. Heels towards the ground. And let's go one more time. Lift everything up. And bend the knees. Lengthen the legs. Back to down dog. On your next exhale, step your feet forward a little wider than your hips. Grab opposite elbows and let your head hang heavy here. You can bend your knees if that feels nice. Try to bring your chest towards your thighs. Maybe sway side to side, nod your head yes or no. And just imagine your head is heavy like a big old kettlebell or a big weight plate. And it's pulling down on your spine. Lengthening everything out, creating space here. Take one more breath. Release your elbows. Press into the soles of your feet and roll up nice and slow. Let your head be the last thing to rise up here. Bring your heels under your hips. Shrug your shoulders back a few times. Open everything up. Good. Shrug the shoulders back, palms forward. Pull in these lower abs to bring your tailbone facing down. Lift your chin. Take a breath in. Big exhale. Inhale, reach up for the sky. Exhale, soften your knees and fold forward. Good. We're going to stretch the outer leg a little bit here. So you can grab a block, put it outside of your right foot. And then you're going to bend your left knee and push into your right hip. So you may feel this like your IT band down the outer edge of your leg. If this is too intense, soften the right knee a bit. Take about one more breath here. And then soften both knees, bring yourself through center. Same thing, left leg. Bend the right knee, push into your left hip. Take a couple breaths here. Good. Soften both knees, come to center. You're going to take your right foot, step it back behind you. And you want it so that your heel can reach the ground. You're going to take both blocks and frame your left foot with your blocks. So you want your feet to be about hip distance. You want space between them. And your right toes might come out of it to the side, mine always do. Good. Rise up into a nice standing position. Take your hands to your hip bones. Pull back on your right hip, press, or your left hip, press forward with your right. You want your hips to be square to the front. So as we come into pyramid pose, it's very easy for that back hip to pull back in front to press forward. So let's keep our hands on our hip bones, lengthen through the spine, and then start to hinge forward. Come about halfway down and take a moment to do a little hip check. So if you feel that right hip pulling back, pull back on the left and press forward on the right. If this is really intense, soften the left knee. Bring your hands down to your block. So it might just be your fingertips that reach. Maybe your hands reach as well. This is a great place to stay. If you'd like a deeper stretch, if you haven't reached that edge yet, that sweet spot, you can start to bend your elbows and bring your chest closer to your thigh. Take about 2 more rounds of breath here. Just imagine each exhale, wherever you're feeling tension or tightness, imagine that muscle starting to relax, starting to melt. One more breath. Good. And then you're going to lift up, come back up to that flat back. Lift your right heel, bend your knee, and sit your hips back. Take a couple breaths here. Good. Lengthen that right leg. Set that heel down. Soften your left knee and step your right foot up to meet left. Let's take the left foot back. Bring that heel down. Find pyramid pose on this side. And again, those left toes might come out a little bit. Rise up to standing, and let's find that nice square hip. So take that right hip back, left hip forward. Lengthen up, find a tall spine, and keep it long as you fold forward, pushing back on the right hip, pressing forward with the left. Fingertips or hands come to the block. Soften your right knee if you need to. So feel free to stay here, or again, you can take it a little deeper, bending the elbows, bringing your chest closer to your thighs, still pulling back on that right hip, pressing forward with the left. You're going to take one more breath here. Rise back up to that nice flat back. Lift your left heel. Bend your knee and sit your hips back and take a couple breaths here. Good. Lengthen up. Let your heel come down. Soften that right knee and set your left up to meet right. Rise up. Bring your hands down to your hips. So we're going to do chair pose a couple times, a couple variations, working with the hips a bit. So you can take big toes together, or they might be almost touching. Hands come to your heart. Let's start with our hands right here. Long spine, shoulder blades slide down the back. Sit your hips back like you're about to take a seat in a chair. So it's not a squat. It's a little bit different. You want the spine to be long though. So it's very easy for your tailbone to tilt up. Pull those lower abs in a bit to bring that tailbone in line with your spine. Palms stay pressing into each other. Or you can bring your arms forward, bicep to ear as well. If you have any shoulder issues, sometimes this is uncomfortable. I like to keep my hands here or at my heart. We're going to take 2 rounds of breath here. And you don't have to come very low. Just want to keep the spine long. Sit back the hips. Relax the shoulders. And on your next inhale, rise up. Palms come together. Exhale, bring them to your heart. Now we're going to take it to a figure 4 with a chair. One of my favorite stretches, especially after a run. I'm a trail runner, guys, so I don't run a treadmill. I rarely run the street anymore. I love the trails. So a good stretch afterwards is always awesome. Shift all your weight into all 4 corners of that right foot. Big toe, little toe, inside, outside of your heel. Palms come together, shoulder blades slide down the back. Lift your left knee, push down on that left hip. Ankle comes in front of your thigh, or if you need to, in front of your shin. Good. Find your balance here, rooting down to all 4 corners of your foot, lengthening through the spine. Relax your jaw and your tongue. And then sit your hips back into chair. Good. See how this feels. If you'd like a little bit different stretch, if this is feeling nice, I feel it back here. You can stay here. You can also take those blocks. Bring your hands to your blocks or the ground. Lengthen the right leg. Bring your chest towards your thigh. Just stretch out your hamstring and your glute in your right leg. You're going to take one and maybe kind of flow through those. And you're going to take one more breath. And then you're going to come back into that figure 4. Rise up, release the left leg, set it down. Let's try the other side. Root down into all 4 corners of that left foot. Lift your right knee, push down on that hip, make your hips even. Come into your figure 4. Find your balance here, focus and breathe. And it's okay if you're not balancing today. It's okay if you have an off day. Our balance isn't always awesome, and that's pretty normal. We usually have one good side, one not so good side. If you want, you can have a seat. Maybe bring your hands to the block or the ground. Lengthen that leg. You can stay in either of those positions, or you can kind of flow through them like I did on the other side. Coming down into that chair and then lengthening the leg. I always like to tell people our bodies are not robots, so they don't always do what we want them to do. They're not perfect. They're different every day. So accept where you're at, accept where your body's at. Work with it where it's at. Give it a little grace, give it a little kindness, and do what you can do with what you have. Come back into that chair if you're not there. Rise up, release that leg, set it down, give it a shake out. We're going to take a nice wide squat, Malasana, garland squat. It's got a lot of names in yoga. I call it a nice wide low squat before we settle in and really stretch everything out at the end. So you're going to take your feet a little bit wider than hip distance, like you're going to come into a squat. Toes can be out a bit. Palms to your heart, shoulders shrug back. and start to sit your hips back. So find that squat. If this is where you're at today, this is a great place. If you can take it lower, sink your hips down, that's awesome. If you can bring your hands to your heart, you want your chest to be lifted, and you want your full foot to be flat on the mat. So if you need to adjust your feet a little bit, you can. If you're here, think of pressing your elbows into your thighs and your thighs into your elbows, lengthening through the spine and taking a couple breaths. Let's take one more round of breath. Good. Take your hands to the ground, lengthen up, heel toe your feet in, and let's take a little bit of a ragdoll here just to kind of relax everything. So soften your knees, grab opposite elbows, bring your chest towards your thighs, and maybe sway side to side a bit. Take about 2 rounds of breath here. One more breath. Good, and then bend your knees a little bit more and come down to a seat. Take your legs long in front of you, and here's where you'll grab that band. So for me, I just have this band, but you can use a belt, any kind of strap, any kind of exercise band works. You're gonna sit up nice and tall. You wanna find your sit bones here, and you can bend your knees for less intensity, but you wanna keep your feet flex. So when we usually do a forward fold, it's very easy to let that low back kind of collapse in. You wanna keep your spine long. You can take that strap to the soles of your feet. Sit up nice and tall. Keep your spine long as you gently fold forward, and maybe you start to walk your hands forward on your strap. So keep your spine long, and you may not come as far, but that's okay. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Keep the feet flexed, soften the knees if you need to. You're gonna take 2 more rounds of breath here. One more breath. And gently release that strap and rise up. Good, you can take that strap off of your legs. Bend your knees, plant your feet. Find your midway on your mat and bring your hips there. Make sure you have blocks and strap by your side. Roll down onto your back. You're gonna lift your right leg. Put your strap on the sole of your foot, and you can take your left leg long if you like. So you wanna keep your shoulders relax down onto the mat. Feel free to soften this knee and try to bring it a little closer to your chest. Take about 2 rounds of breath here. One more breath. Take that strap into your left hand. Right arm comes out to the side. Let your right leg fall across your body, but keep your shoulders on the mat. So take a couple breaths here. If it gets too intense, lift your leg a little closer to the ceiling. If you'd like a deeper stretch out on the outer edge of your leg, you want to rotate your big toe down, pinky towards the sky, and let it fall to the side. Take a couple breaths here. Breathe through it. Then bring your leg back up to center. Switch hands. Take that strap into your right hand. Left arm comes out to the side. And let your leg fall open to the side. So keeping both shoulders on the mat, but you also want to keep your left glute or your left hip on the mat. It's very easy for that hip to pop up. So you can even take your hand and push down on it a little bit. Take about 2 more breaths here. One more breath. Bring that leg back up to center. We're going to come into a half happy baby. So I like to do this with a strap. Take your left foot, put it on the mat. Then you're going to bend your right knee, flex your foot, and bring your knee out towards your armpit and your outer rib. So this might be where you're at. This is a great place to be, keeping your back melting down onto your mat, nice and flush on the mat. Maybe you can bring that knee in a little closer. Maybe you straighten out the left leg. This might be where you're at, and that's totally fine. Like I said before, work with your body where it is at today. Let's take about one more breath. Good. Gently release that leg. Take the strap off. Bend your left knee if it's not there. Take your right ankle in front of your thigh. Arms come out to the side. Let your legs fall over to the right side. Inhale, come back up to center. Exhale over to the left. Inhale, back up to center. One more time each side, over to the right. Bring it back up to center. Over to the left. Bring it back up to center. Stay in this figure 4 and bring your legs in towards your chest. Keep your feet flexed. So you can stay here, you can grab that thigh. You can take that strap behind your thigh, but you want to keep your shoulders flat. Maybe even lift that left leg and draw some little circles with your ankle, with your toes, so you can release your ankle and your shin and your calf a bit. Take about one more breath here. Bring your left foot back down to the mat. Lift that right leg, set your foot down, and let's try the other side. Lift the left leg, put that strap on the sole of your foot, and find that nice stretch here. Again, you can lengthen out that leg if you like. Shoulders stay flat on the mat. Take a couple breaths here. Soften your knee if you need to. One more breath. Good. Take that strap in your right hand. Let that leg fall across your body, keeping your shoulders flat on the mat. And again, if you'd like a deeper stretch on the outer edge, kind of sickle your foot in so that the big toe comes towards you, pinky towards the sky, and then let that leg fall across. Take a couple breaths here. Relax your jaw. Sometimes when we're working hard or something feels a little bit tight, you hold tension in your jaw and your shoulders, so really focus on relaxing them. As you inhale, come back up to center. Grab that strap with your left hand, right arm comes out. Let your leg fall open. So again, keep your shoulders down and try and keep this hip down as well. It's very easy for it to come up, so you can even take your hand to your hip bone here. Keep it nice and flat. Take about one more breath. And bring your leg back up to center. We're going to come into that half happy baby. Plant your right foot. Flex the left, bend your knee, and bring it out towards your armpit, your outer rib cage. So try and keep your shoulders and your hips on the mat. And again, this might be where you're at. That's totally okay. Breathe into it. Take some nice deep breaths. One more breath. Lengthen that leg, release your strap. Bring your right foot to the mat if it's not there. Left ankle comes in front of your thigh. Find that figure 4. And as you exhale, let your legs fall over to the left side. Inhale, bring them back to center. Exhale to the right. Inhale, back to center. Let's go one more time each side. Bring it back to center. Over to the right. Bring it back to center. Bring your legs in towards your chest. Keep both feet flexed. And again, you can grab your thigh, maybe your shin. You can use your strap. Keep your shoulders relaxed onto the mat. Maybe lift that right leg. and draw some circles to release your ankle, your shin, and your calf. We've got a couple breaths here. Release your leg. Take that right foot down. Set your left foot down next to it, and you're going to grab a block. Lift your hips, place your block, or if you're using a cushion or a rolled up blanket or towel, under your low back just above your glutes. Lift your shoulders, shrug them back, and settle in. So you can stay here, supported bridge. You can take the legs up for a waterfall, or my favorite, take your legs long. Let your hips, your knees, and your toes open up. And take about 4 breaths here. Just really breathing into it. So imagine that block, that little bit of pressure of your block or your support under your low back. It's just putting a little bit of pressure on your low back to release those muscles a little bit more. Let it support you. Let it take that weight. And just breathe. One more breath here. Wherever you're at, bend your knees and bring your feet back to the mat if they're not there. Lift your hips, slide that block out, and bring your hips back down. Take your hips in towards your belly and keep your low back on the ground here. Maybe rock side to side or draw some little circles with your knees a few times. Good. Keep your knees bent. Take your feet about mat distance. Arms come out by your side. And as you exhale, let your legs fall to the right side like windshield wipers. Inhale, come back up to center. Exhale over to the left. Good. 2 more times each side with your breath at your pace. So you can take it nice and slow. And if you're almost done, if you're moving a little bit faster pace than me, we'll just meet in that nice neutral position with feet flat, knees facing towards the sky. Good. Heel toe your feet back under your knees. And find your final resting pose, your Shavasana. So that can be legs long, arms by your side. If you have 2 blocks, 2 supports, sometimes I like to bring bottoms of my feet together, bound angle or butterfly. Take my blocks underneath my thighs for support and take my arms out to the side. One of my favorite positions for resting, relaxing, and a little meditation. If your low back is bothering you, you can take your feet wide, knees bent, and let your legs fall towards each other. You can come up, have a seat, or whatever else feels good. We're going to take a few breaths here. Soften your gaze or close your eyes. And I want you to try and let go of everything going on around you, all of the thoughts, everything happening in the world. And again, like I said before, maybe focus on, in your mind as you inhale, saying inhale. And as you exhale, saying exhale. And when those thoughts, when those feelings come into your body, wrap them up into a little bubble, let them float away. Focus on your breath. Focus on your body. And take this little slice of time to let your mind and your body rest and reset. Nice big breath in through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. We're going to take one more round of breath together. In. And let it out. Just focus on you. Please feel free to stay here as long as you need. taking your time, resting and relaxing. Thank you so much for joining me. From my heart to yours, sending you love, light, and kindness.